The ancient Egyptian pharaohs often commemorated military victories over their enemies by having them depicted on the walls of great monuments. One of the most famous conflicts recorded on the walls of an Egyptian temple is that of the Battle of the Delta, fought by the Pharaoh Ramses III against the invading sea peoples. The Battle of the Delta is thought to have been fought during the year 1175 BC. On one side were the Egyptians under Ramses III, perceived by some to be the last great pharaoh of the new kingdom. On the other side were the mysterious sea peoples, a term used to describe a group of seafaring raiders mentioned in several Egyptian sources. These include the Peleset ancestors of the Philistines, Jeker of Crete, Shikalesh ancestors of the Sicilians, Shardana ancestors of the Sardinians, Lutka possible ancestors of the Lycians and Illyrians ancestors of the Albanians. Incidentally, several ancient Mediterranean civilizations, i.e. the Hittite, Mycenaeans and Mitanni kingdoms, came to an end around 1175 BC, and one theory claims that their downfall was caused by the sea peoples. The ferocity of these raiders is also echoed in an inscription on the walls of the mortuary temple of Ramesses II in Medinet Habu, where the pharaoh's victory is commemorated. According to the text, not one stood before their hands, and numerous cities were laid to waste. The aggressive sea peoples seem to have targeted Egypt next, but prior to the Battle of the Delta, Ramesses III had already won a great victory over them at the Battle of Jahi. This battle took place somewhere on Egypt's eastern frontier, and the pharaoh defeated an army of the sea people who were trying to invade Egypt by land. Most of our knowledge about this battle comes from Medinet Habu. However, since there are few other sources, it is possible that Ramesses III did not actually defeat an army at Jahi, but instead gained a victory over a group of refugees fleeing from their cities that had been destroyed by the sea peoples. If this were the case, it might not have been depicted on the walls of Medinet Habu unless it was modified. The sea peoples attempted to invade Egypt by sea, using their advanced sailing skills and technology. However, the Egyptians were less skilled and had less advanced ships. Nonetheless, Ramesses III had a plan. Instead of engaging in open waters, he allowed the sea peoples to sail unopposed into the Nile Delta, where the Egyptian ships were more maneuverable due to their use of both sails and oars. Bowmen were stationed on the banks of the Nile and on the Egyptian ships to prevent the sea peoples from landing on Egyptian soil and to shoot arrows at them. The sea peoples, armed with swords and spears, were unable to counterattack, and grappling hooks were used to capsize many of their ships. Due to Ramesses III's victory at the Battle of the Delta, the Egyptians were able to avoid being conquered by the sea peoples and suffering destruction at their hands. Nevertheless, there was a heavy price to pay. As a result of this conflict, the Egyptian treasury was drained and the Egyptian army was exhausted, thus contributing to the end of the glory days of the empire. Matters only got worse after the death of Ramesses III, as their eastern possessions were later colonized by the Philistines. In the long term, the weakening of Egypt due to the conflict with the people of the sea, along with other important factors, would lead to the Third Intermediate Period about a century after the Battle of the Delta.